Heyo everyone, Hexi here, and today I'm coming at you with a story about a game that gave me countless hours of joy back whenever I was younger, that game being Unreal Tournament 2004. Unreal Tournament tends to be a showcase of the various Unreal engines. It seems like every time a new engine came out, they also had to release a new tournament game to go with it. I'm mostly going to be talking about the instant action mode because, unfortunately, Epic Games decided to try and wipe away Unreal altogether. So they've unlisted all the games, and now there's no more multiplayer servers unless you go and connect to a custom one through some console commands. But that was more effort than I was willing to put in for this one video. In the assault mode, you can take on some single player style objective based story missions that have their own animated cutscenes, and you have to do like some very linear objectives to reach a goal. Like there's this one mission where you're attacking a convoy and you have to extend a bridge in order to get across onto their main truck. Then you're able to pull a lever and open up the back of that truck to allow your spawn vehicle to drive in. And then you're able to set up a little forward base in there. And then you would take on their transport truck and hijack some missiles. It's all a good time. The enemies have to defend different points, and they can use gun turrets to do that, and they just have to snipe at you, and meanwhile you're firing back, and the maps are absolutely ridiculously huge, so it makes for a perfect playground for all sorts of wacky ballistics-based gunplay. You're not going to find a lot of hit scan weapons in Unreal. Maybe the sniper rifle and assault rifle, and that's kind of it. There's also this level that was largely used in the marketing where you take down an alien mothership, and it's basically a recreation of the Death Star fight, for the most part, at least during the beginning. You fly around in spaceships, and you shoot out its cores, and then you go inside and it turns into a regular level. So if you've got the anniversary edition like me, you have the joke Outback assault mission. And that one allows you to fight against the evil Zero beer and try to brew some new beer. I mean, come on, guys. What other game can you say that you've murdered an entire family of kangaroos with your bladed assault vehicle? Onslaught mode has some of the biggest maps in the game, to my recollection. You have to use vehicles and capture points to chain together a attack link over to the enemy base. And as long as you have bases connecting all the way there, you can attack their core and blow it up. This one is heavily impacted by the vehicles, like the various blade cars and the tanks. One of my personal favorites, the Leviathan, that can transform into a giant gun battery. Deathmatch and Team Deathmatch are your standard get the most kill game modes. You're either on your own or with a team, but either way, you gotta kill as many enemy players as possible to try and get the top score first. This game mode especially emphasizes the gunplay, especially in the more claustrophobic maps where it's going to be very Quake-like in how you encounter enemies and shoot them down on the fly. One wrong turn and you're toast. Now, Unreal 2004 has a whole host of weapons, like the biogun, which allows you to slime the floor and kill enemies like it's a deadly game of Splatoon, or the mighty flak cannon that allows you to shoot ricocheting shotgun blasts off the walls and they can hit enemies around corners, right down to the mighty Redeemer. It allows you to guide the missiles right into the enemy's face and then they set off nuclear explosions. Capture the Flag probably doesn't need any introduction. It is a game mode where you capture a flag and take it from the enemy base back to your base. Very simple. There's this mode called Double Domination. It's basically King of the Hill, but with two hills. That way you have to hold both of them. It's a little bit more tedious, especially with bots that won't stand on the point. But aside from that, it's still King of the Hill. Just double King of the Hill. Bombing Run is where things really get fun. It's basically basketball, where you're trying to get a ball through a hoop, only the ball's stored in a gun. You can shoot it by shooting the ball, or you can run through the hoop yourself. Usually the hoops are backed with death traps though, so if you jump through the hoop you'll probably be eviscerated somehow. Now Mutant is very similar to the Halo game mode Juggernaut, and I don't know exactly which one came out first, but I have a feeling that they probably both had the same idea around the same time. It's just very interesting that both Halo and Unreal Tournament have this mode where it's one player against all the rest and one of them gets super powered. Basically the same though. Invasion's another interesting mode because you get to fight all the monsters from Unreal 1, only they're running around a map and it's very tight-knit. I kinda wish there were some bigger invasion maps by default, but it's okay. You can fix it by modding. Last Man Standing is the game mode where you get a set number of lives and you have to kill the enemies and make them run out of lives before you do. Very similar to Deathmatch, but with a live system. And then there's Instagib Capture the Flag. You're all given Instagib shock rifles that instantly turn enemy players into chunks. It's very bloody, very violent, very cartoonish, and very fun. Now on top of all of that, Unreal has something called mutators. Mutators allow you to augment the gameplay. You can do things like introduce not double jumping, not even triple jumping, but quad jumping. Because Unreal Tournament goes that extra mile. It doesn't have double damage, it's got quad damage. It's got quad jumping. You can turn on some mutators that allow you to get the old Unreal gameplay back, or you can turn it back to 2003 if you really enjoyed that. But yeah, Unreal 1 or the base 2004 is probably the way to go. Though sometimes it can be fun to turn on air control so that you can control where you're going in the air, especially if you're playing something like Bombing Run. Then you can uh, guide yourself into those hoops better. And then there's like low gravity. You can turn on jumping for the cars or make it so they can pick up items so you don't have to constantly jump out to grab your shields. Well, that's all I've got time for this week, guys. Ciao for now, and Hexi out. Thanks go out to my Patreon supporters. Your donations mean the world to me, and I thank you for supporting my future endeavors.